How will you know when you're living your soul's true purpose? For some of us, we're fortunate enough to have visible proof or signs that we're living our purpose. But at times, the evidence that you're on purpose is more of an internal thing. These internal signs of being on purpose are often felt rather than seen, which makes them somewhat less tangible. And I get that this isn't always enough of an answer that you might be seeking. If you happen to be intuitive or spiritual, you might find it easy or even natural to tune into your feelings and look toward your internal compass. But if you don't find tuning into your feelings as easy, it might take you a little more grounding, soul-searching, and stepping back to look at your life before you understand where you are on your path. So let me take you on a little journey back to my childhood. Now, I've always loved the arts, but when I was younger, I was told that pursuing the arts was not worthwhile, and it wasn't a good use of my time, and it certainly wasn't a career option for me. And look at me now. But that actually really stuck with me throughout my teenage years and into adulthood. So for me, part of my purpose that is connected to the artistic expression is something that I've had to feel my way back to, and it took a great deal of soul searching. Now, it's been much more of an internal process for me. My mother used to say that destiny is best viewed in the rearview mirror. And she meant that if you looked back at your life, then there were probably signs along the way and events that led you to where you are right now. How about you today? You know, over time, I became acutely aware of being in a state of flow, where I am following my purpose. I feel a huge sense of fulfillment when I'm doing what my soul wants me to be doing. And remembering what my mother used to say, when I look back over the signs and the events of my life, it's very clear to me what my purpose is. So what about you? I believe that looking at our emotions as one of those signs that life shows us is a great way to know how we are doing in terms of following our purpose. It's pretty clear. When we are not in alignment, we feel bad, mad, or sad. Does the word drained resonate with you? I think we all wind up there from time to time, and it often coincides with us straying from our soul's path. And when we get too caught up in the pursuit of money or a career or pleasing other people, we end up way off course. And the emotional response? Tiredness, despondency, and even feeling depressed can be our emotional alarm that's letting us know that we need to course correct. And this is what often happens when people try to fit themselves into a different mold to please their family, their friends, their partner, or society in general. But a person can change their form, perhaps appearance, for example. A person can change their function, maybe taking on a job. But your essence, well, that's who you really are. That's the little voice that calls to you in the quiet hours. That's the ache that tells you that something is missing. So, let me summarize this in a practical way. Because whether you are deeply spiritual or not, I think we can all work with this. When we're on course, you feel a sense of flow and fulfillment, and the chances are that you're walking your own path, the one that you were meant to walk, and your soul is thanking you for it. If you're off course, if you feel disconnected, despondent, drained, or any variation of that, this could be a sign that you have veered off your path. And this is when it's time to take a step back and have the big conversation with yourself. Now, you can allow your emotion to guide you. Now, if you happen to be in that situation right now, you need to ask, who am I at a soul level? What is your true essence? And what makes you happy, fulfilled, and flowing with energy? Allow yourself to play more, explore more, and delight in the activities that make you feel blissful to be alive. Now, while not all of these activities will lead you to a career, they can be hints at the types of gifts, talents, strengths that all come naturally to you that you could find more outlets for in your life. living a life of purpose requires taking action. The first action is to check your mindset. Finding and following your purpose is an internally driven and internally assessed thing. So you cannot compare yourself to societal standards or seek approval from people outside of you. Now, if approval comes, that's all good, but don't go trying to chase it down. Your ability to tune into your internal compass will take practice, especially if you've normally followed what your friends, family, the media suggested was the right path to take. So, be aware that there may not be many models for you to follow. In time, your authentic self will become your own role model. So check in with yourself daily to see what mental operating system is active. Is it the please others, follow the herd mentality? Or is it the I follow my heart and trust my soul mindset? This means from time to time, you got to get quiet and go within. Welcome to Liberate Your Authentic Self with Dr. Andrea Pennington, the prescription for living your life out loud. So if you're feeling a little off course in life or not quite living life on your own terms, no worries. Hey, I've actually been there myself. It's not easy to follow the path of your soul, especially in a world that pushes us toward conformity. But I encourage you to tap into your heart and soul daily, several times a day. Check in for feedback about your life path. Get still and quiet, even just for 3 to 5 minutes a day, and ask, am I on course? What do I need to do to get on course? Now, you may have noticed that the soul tends to whisper to us, whereas everyday life and reality tends to shout. The voice of our authentic self often gets drowned out. And that's why regular practice of checking in is so vital. Now, in time, you will learn to hear and heed the voice of your authentic self, and the outside world will seem much less important. So we all want to live a life of purpose. You know, we hear it everywhere. Live a life of purpose and passion and power. But how do you do that? How do you break free from that internal mental programming? All the things that make you feel like you're not good enough, not smart enough, or you just can't do a good enough job. Well, we're going to break some of that mental goo down so that you can live a more empowered life as your authentic self. Joining me today is Dean Griffiths. He's also known as the Soul Whisperer. He's a gifted, intuitive coach whose passion is empowering women to live a life of purpose. And he works with just one simple philosophy. Your problem is not your problem. Your attitude about your problem is your problem. So if you want to create the life that you ultimately dream of, well, it all starts off with a strong intention and then taking the actions to make that happen. So I think we all have the intention, Dean, but it's the action that trips so many people up. So let's just dig right into it. First of all, thank you once again for being here.
Yeah, I mean, action is easier said than done. Is that we know what we want to do, we know what we should be doing, but actually doing the steps each day, every day, for months, sometimes for years, it's a whole different story. So for people, that's where I think you've got to be realistic with yourself, and you've got to keep checking in and going, okay, where am I on my journey right now to the goal that I'm trying to achieve, or whatever I'm trying to achieve in life? And it's also then having people around you. For me, one of the big things is actually having coaches, mentors, even friends, family to support you. I think people who don't have that, that's where they struggle the most.
Well, let's actually start there. Before we get into taking action, I think that the biggest challenge for many people is figuring out, what do I really want versus what have I been programmed to want? So when you're talking about having positive people around you, I get it. Like, you know me, I believe in coaching and mentoring. It's literally transformed my own life. But what do we do for people who have been programmed by their family of origin or their religion, or, even just the time the period of time that they grew up in, where society really influenced our choices about which career to follow and how early to get married and have children. Let's take a step back, if we could, Dean. How do you help people find out, okay, what is my purpose?
Well, it's like you said, we are programmed to copy our parents, to copy our grandparents, our family, our tribe, people around us that we've grown up with. The thing is being able to, actually now with the internet and stuff, we're actually getting access to a lot of people. So we're now seeing what we want more and more, whether it's through celebrities or through other people like yourself. It's like we're starting to see actually what we want, the kind of life that we want. But so that break between the old is being able to go, I've got to let go of my family, of my friends. And sometimes this literally means physically. This is the hard one. I know you're a big fan of Gary Vee, and he talks about this a lot as well, is that it's actually you having to let go of family and tell them that, I'm following my dream right now. That's a big challenge for a lot of people, especially if you come from certain religious families where family is a very important part of your culture. So now I've had a few clients who are like Muslim and stuff, and they find it really hard to move away from the family dynamics. But I ultimately say to them that if your dream is that you want to achieve X or Y, then at the end of the day, your family are always going to be supporting you, because if you're achieving and you're living the life of purpose, the family will be there for you. So there will always be struggles. But if you actually believe enough and you really want it, I think ultimately your family, friends, whoever, the ones who really want to support you are the ones who will be there for you on the journey.
Well, one of the things that you talk about on this quote unquote journey is that there is actually a theme to our life. So including sometimes the challenges that we face, whether that's in childhood or wherever. So one of the things that you help people do is really to connect the dots between the things that have happened in their past, the things that are kind of bubbling up inside of them, so that they can make sense of it, to say, is now the time for me to break away from my family? Is now the time for me to go against the grain of society, think outside the box, live outside the box? So how do we understand about, what's the difference between our personality and the intelligence, our outlook on life? Where do you begin there?
For me, that goes back to what you're feeling internally. Because ultimately, you've got your own internal GPS that's trying to guide you. This is your soul, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. And that kind of goes back to the whole theme. It's been leading you on this path your whole life. So when you can tune back in and go, actually, what does my heart really tell me? Not my head. My head will tell me actually what happened in the past. But my heart's trying to take me to the future. So what's my heart trying to tell me? And where's my head conflicting with that? And where do I need to kind of work with the two? Because ultimately you need the head and the heart to be in congruence with each other.
Well, a lot of people say that, follow your heart, follow your heart. But if we have voices in our head,
Exactly.
that mom or that dad or that school teacher that's like, you're not ever going to amount to anything. You can't do that. Girls can't do that. How do you tap into what your heart or your soul? I mean, I always say you're the soul whisperer, but I always say our soul whispers while the rest of the world shouts, which makes it really hard to hear the voice of the authentic self or our soul. So when you're saying go into the perceptions and the feelings, how would you distinguish that? What does it feel like for you and with your clients when the heart is telling you to do something? So
the other thing is that, kind of a bit scary for some people, but we have a lot of voices in our head.
Yes, I do. And no, I'm not schizophrenic.
Exactly. So it's being able to filter the different voices that you have in your head. You have the voice of fear. You have the voice that wants to encourage you. So it's knowing which voice am I listening to right now. The fear is, you have to remember, our brains are programmed to be fearful more so than positive. I think I read something actually about relationships that said it takes 5 positive encounters to negate 1 negative. So this filtering is a process, and it's like people go, when I'm working with clients in their 20s, I go, look, you've got so much time. Don't worry about trying to get this all right now. Is that this is a process. I mean, I'm in my 40s and I'm going, I still haven't got this yet. So don't think you're meant to have this yet. Is that you've got to be able to understand you and the different voices and the different ways that you work and how you connect with your guides, if you're spiritual and you want to use your spirit guides, how you work with them. And for me, it comes down to the different voices. So I had something happened to me like a few months ago. I was walking down the street and I was going through a bad time, and I had this voice in my head. And this voice was a very negative voice, and it was like, you can't do this, this isn't, you're not good enough, all this kind of stuff that's typical for a lot of people. And there's another voice all of a sudden jumped in and went, hey, whose voice is this? It's almost like I caught this child, and it was like, and I said to my guides, I said, we need to get rid of this voice. This voice is not mine anymore. I don't want to take ownership of it anymore. And from that day forward, actually, that voice has never been back in my head. So we can't even control these voices to that degree. It's becoming aware of the voices and actually communicating with them. So actually, I communicate with the different parts of myself. I teach my clients to communicate with different parts of who you are on a daily basis and check in. This is maybe through meditation, journaling, whatever it is for you. That's how I teach my clients to kind of understand what it is they want and know which voice they want to listen to today, tomorrow, next week, whatever.
So the first thing is to acknowledge that voice, hear it, and say, wait a minute, whose voice is this? Is this mine? Is this the voice of my mom or that old coach or my old piano teacher or whatever? And so when you say you have this dialogue with these parts of yourself and with your clients, you're teaching us then what we need to do is actually have a conversation, because even though it's not really a person, it has its own motives. Like really, we internalize all of these other voices of people who influenced us at some point in our life as a mode of protection, right? Like if you think about it, absolutely. The ego takes it on because it's like, oh, don't do that because you might get, kicked on the playground. But then that's when you were 5. And now you're 25 or 35 or 45. So how do you talk to that part of yourself when you say you have a conversation?
Yeah, I mean, literally it is. I'm having this two-way conversation in my head. Sometimes I'll actually, if I'm walking down a street which is quiet, sometimes I'll actually speak out loud. So I'll actually have one voice is actually me speaking, other voices in my head. We're having this conversation. And sometimes I'm so engrossed in the conversation, I've got someone walking past me looking at me going, are they on a phone or is there something going on here? Because sometimes you can get into this deep conversation with yourself, not realizing actually there's a world around you sometimes. So for me, it's literally it's like me and you having a conversation sometimes. I get that engrossed in that conversation. And some of my clients, they come back to me and go, they're in the middle of a coffee shop and all of a sudden someone's looking at them and thinking, what's wrong with them? They're having this conversation with themselves, literally, physically having a conversation themselves in a coffee shop. And it can be, so it's how deep you want to go into it. That's the fun part of it.
And so when you say that you just decide, okay, this is no longer me, I don't want to live by those rules anymore, that's enough. And so when the voice comes up again, you just sort of remind it, you're not ruling things over here anymore, or what?
There's something, you have to be aware of. Each voice has something it wants to teach you. So I never say, look, these voices are bad. Every voice that you have in your head is a teacher in some way. Whether that teacher was your mum, like I said, it can be a mentor from when you were 5, whatever it is for you. So I'm going, what is it that you're trying to teach me? And if they often, especially the more negative voices, I often find that actually, when you say, look, show me what it is that I'm scared of, all of a sudden they've got nothing to say. So I go, look, I have one of my common ones I had for many years is worry, and I still have it. So whenever that worrying voice comes up in my head, I say, okay, am I actually meant to be worried really badly right now? Or is this something that I'm just it's an old program for me? And it would just go quiet. I go, okay, it's just an old program. I can let go of it, right? It doesn't speak anymore. I go, okay, it's letting me know that it's brought it up, but it realized that actually it's not important right now because it's just trained to come up when certain situations happen in my life. So it's meant to speak. So now I'm communicating with it and saying, okay, do I actually really need to worry right now? Is it actually really important for me right now? And it goes, actually, I can't speak because it's obviously not important for you. I've actually said my piece, and that's what I've done. Now I've gone beyond that and gone, it's not important for me. I've allowed that voice to express itself. So for me, it's really important to not think that these voices are good or bad. They've all got a role in your kind of life. They've taken you to this point. It's going, do I still need you going forward? Remember, those negative ones are going to be in there all the time. So it's giving them that space to go, okay, tell me what's really scaring me right now. Is it something I need to be afraid of? Is there actually a real danger? That's what it's, for me, is finding the difference between the two, is actually going, what's I need to take notice of right now? Because sometimes that fearful voice is actually true. It's trying to stop you from doing something, right? So sometimes it's not about it's trying to take you on an old pattern. It's actually trying to stop you from going down a certain path that actually will be more dangerous for you than stopping and going down, or reviewing and going down a different path. That makes sense?
Yeah, I get it. So, okay, so if we've decided, boom, we want to really get on a path that is in alignment with our heart and our soul, our true desires, as opposed to what may have been programmed into us or coerced into us. One of the things that I love about your approach is that you also look at numerology. So I'd love it if you'd kind of explain why you suggest that we look at our life path number.
Yes, I mean, I actually, the only part I use in numerology is actually the life path number. So for me, as an intuitive, I want to understand why you're here. And it goes back to what you mentioned before about the theme. I said, there's a theme of your life. There's a reason why you're here. There's a purpose. So numerology for me is the thing that I connected with, and it works for me and it works for my clients. So once I know your number, so obviously you're generally between 1 and 9 is your number. We take your date of birth. We break it down to a single digit. So if you take my date of birth, 17th of August, 1971, 1 and 7, 8. August is 8, and then 1971 is 18, which is broken down into one number is 9. So we've got 8, 8, 9, add them up together, 25. 2 and 5 is 7, right?
Okay.
Hopefully not too quickly, but you got the idea. So I'm a 7. So then we can look at, okay, what does a 7 mean? So for a 7 is normally someone who's quite sensitive, intuitive, they're counselors, they're mentors. I'm fulfilling my role, which is great. So there's different numbers. Then we've got 9s who are the humanitarians. We've got the 1s who are the leaders, but then we've also got our power numbers, number 11, number 22. Some forms of numerology use number 33. I don't personally. So those power numbers, so a good friend of ours, Kitty, she's a 22. Now you look at 22, they're all about connecting. They're master connectors and about making things happen. Now, if you know Kitty, you know that she fulfills her role perfectly. Mm-hmm. So the understanding so what I try to teach my clients is to understand your energy. Once you understand your energy, how it works, the good and the bad as such, and how you use it, because what is your strength is also your weakness and vice versa. So it's understanding where are your strengths, where are your weaknesses, and how do you use them. So as a 7, I'm very internal. I'm not normally out there a lot. So for me, this is a big thing to put myself out there. So it's something that it's one of my, it's positive and it allows me to go inside and actually learn a lot. But the opposite of that is actually going out there and speaking and doing things like this actually makes it a lot harder for me. So that's a balance of always trying to find between two in your energy. Which one is your strength? Which one is your weakness? And how do you use the balance? When do you apply the weakness? When do you apply the strength? Because with everything, they've all got uses. It's how you use them.
I like that. I like the idea of just recognizing that there is sort of a mystical or otherworldly aspect that's influencing us, whether that's astrology, the placement of the moon, the stars, and the planets at the time of our birth, or with numerology. It just lets us know that we're more than just this human body and this ego with all of our, neuroses. So I love that you do that. Dean, when we come back from this break, I would love it if you could kind of take us into one of the purpose tools that's in this wonderful ebook that you are granting to our listeners. So we'll take that when we get right back. You're listening to Liberate Your Authentic Self with me, Dr. Andrea Pennington. Check out the live version of this show, where I answer your questions in real time. Visit facebook.com/Dr. Andrea Pennington. You can also submit your questions via email. Send it to drandrea@americaoutloud.com. That's DRANDREA@americaoutloud.com. When you decide to live a life of purpose, your purpose, not somebody else's, it means you're going to take responsibility for everything that happens in your world. I know that can be a little bit scary. That means You no longer get to blame your parents or blame the economy or blame anything in the past. It means you have the responsibility, the ability to respond. Well, Dean, you have a particular insight that can help us there. Share that with us.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's being able to take responsibility, and I mean full responsibility for everything that's happened in your life, even the things that you can justify as someone else's fault. For example, like you mentioned, the parents, we can blame our parents, but it's not our parents' fault, right? Because they just copy their parents. We just copy their parents. So where do we start the blame, right? Ultimately, if we go, look, if I'm the creator of my life and I want to live a life of purpose, then I have to take full responsibility for what I'm creating and what I've created in the past. So if I own everything, so I say, look, by taking responsibility doesn't mean you're taking blame for it. It means you're taking ownership of it. It's now yours. It means while you're blaming someone else, you don't own it. You can't do nothing with it. You got to wait for them to make a decision whether they want to use it, give it away, do whatever they want with it. Now, when you own it, it's all yours. You can now do whatever you want. So you can take a bad situation that's, say, for instance, that you were bullied at school. Now, you can take that and go, okay, I'm always going to be bullied. I'm never good enough. That can be the story that you can use. Or you can go, you know what? People will show me actually how strong I really can be, because they wouldn't push me down, because they were worried that if I stood up and I rise up to my level that I can achieve, I'd actually scare them. So it's how you use that and go, okay, how can I use what I've been through and then turn that around to use it? I always say, look, you can take two people, both who were abused as children. One will go on to abuse children, one will go on to help abusers. It's how you take what life has given you and go, okay, if this is mine, how do I now use this to do more good? And for me, that's what that taking responsibility is about, going, how can I take what life has given me, the experiences I've been through, and use them to change who I am and then achieve more of the things that I want going forward in my life?
Well, let's say that we are ready to set a new goal. And the next thing is taking action. And a lot of people still struggle with the old programming. They struggle with their own fear, the fear of maybe someone's going to judge them, maybe they will fail, maybe they're putting too much at risk. So how do we start when we are ready to say, either it's starting a new career or moving to a new city or a new country? Where do we begin when we know that there's some old junk that we've been working on using some of the techniques you've taught us? How do we stay on track so that we actually make progress?
The thing that most people don't do, they don't think big enough. So actually, I listened to a book by a guy called Grant Cardone. He actually gave a great example. If you speak to most people, they go, I just want a normal life. I just want a life, a normal life, family, holidays, whatever. I go, so he used the example of going to the movies. He said, imagine you get to the movies and the movie trailer comes up and it says, here we've got a normal movie with normal actors, and it's just going to be a normal movie that it's just going to be normal. You go, why am I watching this movie for?
Exactly.
So you're looking to go to a movie that's going to be amazing with great actors. So he goes, well, why not live in that kind of life with what you're trying to achieve, with your goals that you're trying to set? Why not setting amazing goals? We set what we think is achievable. Go, well, that's easy. That's not really a challenge for us. We haven't evolved as human beings just to set normal goals. So I say, look, I want you to set goals that you think you can never achieve. Because the closer you get to them, I guarantee you're going to be happy. So whatever your goal is, say let's use weight loss, for example. You go, you want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, well, let's make it 15. Let's put it up a little bit more. Because if you reach 10, so one of the things which I always teach my clients is never have a single goal. Have 3 goals. So you have the minimum that you can achieve. So for instance, if we use a weight loss example, your minimum is that I can lose 5 pounds. Okay, great. What I'd like to lose would be 10 pounds. But if I could really push it, I'd love to lose 15 pounds. So now, if you lose your 5, you've achieved your goal. If you lose your 10, you've achieved your goal. If you lose your 15, you've achieved your goal. Now you're achieving your goal all the time. So the thing is that we make it sometimes too hard. Remember, some people can set that 15 and they will achieve it. Some people have to set that 5 and they will stop. But if you then got another goal on top of that to keep pushing, that will push you a little bit further. So for me, it's always aim higher than what you think you can achieve, because what we think is possible for us is still way beyond what we can actually achieve when we really step into our power.
Yeah, I definitely believe that we are underutilizing our power and our potential. And I've always been a big dreamer. But what do you say about people who just say, I just don't know? Like they've lived someone else's dream, especially when it comes to work, right? Many people find themselves working their butts off to achieve someone else's dream. If you're working for someone else, you're making their dream come true. And if they haven't built up the belief yet in themselves and that their dream is even worthwhile, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think firstly it's actually understanding that not everyone is going to, if we talk about business, not everyone is going to be an entrepreneur. Some people will have to work for other people. You can still achieve your dreams by helping other people achieve their dreams. If you go back to the numerology, right? 9s are very common. They're humanitarians. So actually they work very well in companies sometimes because their dream is that they want to make the world a better place. And sometimes they need the right group of people around them. So for me, it's not about your personal, it's going, who do I need to help me achieve my goals? So it's not so much for me the personal thing, because I think once you align with the right people as well, because we forget we're 7.5 billion people. There's a reason why we're all here. We're not here to do our own individual thing. We're collective. So for me, and it's been a strong thing that I found over the years, more and more with people, is that the more that you connect with the right people, whether it's mentors, coaches, it could be your web guy, it could be your marketing person, if it's your own business, it could be your boss at work, it could be your work colleagues, is that I give them the same level. Is that there's this whole hierarchical thing that we create, is that your boss and the CEO of the company that you work for can't do what they can do without you guys. Mm-hmm. And if you can find the right company who works on that basis, then it doesn't matter about what grade that you're at in your company, is that you're part of a team that wants to create something that's going to change the world. So for me, it's understanding is that some people naturally fit into I need to work for someone else and help them achieve their goal, which actually helps me achieve my goal. So it's not always thinking that we're living in this world, we think we can just go and do our own thing, which is great. But I don't think it always applies to a lot of people. I think there are people, because as you know yourself, the journey on your own to achieve your own goals is very, very hard. So it's actually knowing that who have I got in my team? What teams can I be joining maybe to achieve my goals? Because for some people, their goal is just to have 2 holidays a year.
Yeah.
For some people, they want to earn $100 million. It's really what is your goal? Is that as soon as you take one step, you're stepping in the right direction. If you trust that whatever you do today, whatever you do tomorrow is the right thing, you're stepping in the right direction of the goals that you're trying to achieve. We always got to be willing to review and also change if we need to those goals. But for me, it's just take one step, do one thing, because that will then lead on to something else.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things that you talk about is checking in with yourself, and I call it the process of inquiry, and you say it's asking questions. So if we're moving towards a goal, whether that's within some other company or in a relationship or what have you, you say that we also need to kind of come back and check in to make sure that we're not either falling into a rut or staying even in our own comfort zone. Because I would imagine that if we do create a very comfortable, easy goal, we can get complacent and kind of just too comfortable, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's and for some people that means you got to check in every day. For some people it's every week. It really depends on the goal that you're trying to achieve. But I'm going, if on a regular basis you're not checking in and going, look, I've set myself this goal that I want to achieve by next year. Okay, so what's your mini goals? What do you want to achieve in 1 month? What do you want to achieve in 3 months? So after 1 month, let's check in. How are you doing towards your bigger goal? Are you now behind? Are you ahead? Do you need to make the goal bigger? So really, by checking in and going, okay, where am I on my path to my goal that I'm trying to achieve? Am I behind or am I forward? Then you know what you need to change, where you need to do more work, get more people involved, or actually even change your goal, change what you think you can achieve. The other thing is that sometimes it's people find it hard to dumb down on their goal. Okay, you're not dumbing down, is that you're just changing it for now. In 2 months, we may have to put it back up again because you're doing so well. So again, it's not taking anything exact and going, this is what it's going to be now for the rest of my goal. It's going, here's my goal right now. Right now, I'm not pushing hard enough. Maybe I've got some family stuff going on. Maybe I've got some health challenges right now. So I've got to back off a little bit. But in 2 months' time, maybe I can actually put that goal up even higher again, because now I'm actually working at a higher pace. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It totally makes sense. So it makes me also wonder, I'm a big believer in having routines and also a set of standards, because I personally did have other people's standards inserted into my brain, and they were always so high that I never gave myself credit when I achieved, even 90% of a goal. I didn't even get the upside, that little jolt of excitement. So I had to kind of reset and recreate my own standards about what's good enough, what should I be saying yes to, what should I say no to, and boundaries. And part of that has also been, we talk so much, you and I talk so much about self-awareness. I know for me, I've got to get at least 7 hours of sleep. I've got to eat well. I've got to be well hydrated. And I have to have my meditation time and physical exercise. Anytime I skimp on one of those, I can do it a little bit, but if I do it too many days in a row, I'm subpar in everything else, and then I start feeling like crap, and then all those mean little voices come back. So tell me about you personally, before you get into what you tell clients. Have you developed a kind of a ritual or a routine? Is it a morning routine, or is it a day or life routine that helps you just balance your energy, balance your emotions, so that when you've got these goals, you don't get like completely overwhelmed by the rest of life?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, meditation is a big one, which you mentioned. I know if I go maybe 3 or 4 days without meditating, I can definitely see a difference in my mental state.
Do you always do it first thing in the morning, or?
Yeah, pretty much as soon as I've woken up, I've been to the bathroom, I come back, I sit down, and I meditate. And it generally is around about 20, 30 minutes. So it's not a long meditation, sometimes even 10. If I've got a busy day and I need to be out quite quickly, I may do like a 5-minute meditation. It may not actually even be with music. It may just be I sit there for a moment, I just check in. I've got a particular routine that I use in that I make myself 300 foot tall. I then connect to the light, allow that light to come through me, ground me into Mother Earth, and then come back and open up my heart to the world.
Wait. Say that again. So when you say you make yourself 300 feet tall, so what do? Are you just like imagining that you're like a giant and you're reaching up to the sky? Explain that better.
Exactly. Yeah, so I imagine my energy is like, so in the house that I live in, I imagine that my feet are just in the house and everything else above me is now above that house. That allows me then to connect with the light to come through me. I use different lights. So this morning I used an abundance light. So gold light to come through me, and I worked some different chakras as I went through the body, and we cleared stuff out, and then we grounded it into Mother Earth, and then the energy comes back up and it opens up through the heart, and I expand it out right past the world, right past the universe, across all universes, and that's my way of connecting in the morning.
And so it's partly a visualization, or are you also breathing and imagining that you're contacting this light?
For me, I'm visual, so that's how I use it. I use the visualization part of it. For some people, they may need to go into the breath to really create it, but it's actually what you find what works for you. Then I connect with my guides. So I always check in. I go, good morning, God, good morning, Spirit, archangels, angels. And I use a hierarchical system, actually, funny enough. So I go, God, archangels, angels, spirit guides, and anybody else, my grandparents, whoever else is in there. It's just my way of kind of knowing which order to make sure I've got everybody covered. So that's in my check-in. I check in with everybody. I've got certain guides that I'm working with right now, like Merlin. So I check in with those guys and go, how do I need to be working with you today? What do I need to be doing? Help show me the signs. How do I communicate with you today? What signs do I need to be looking for? So for me, I'm very much going, because of the work that I do, I very much rely on my guides to show me how I work and what I do. These kind of conversations, I don't plan for them. My guides just feed me the information when I need it. So that's how I kind of work with my work. So I allow that just to flow through me.
And do you believe that we all have guides or angels or archangels?
Here's the thing. The way that I look at this, we go back to talk about numerology, astrology. If you believe in something enough, then it becomes a part of your belief system. That means then you can use it however you want to. So if you believe enough in archangels, higher self, well, then it becomes part of your energy. If you don't believe in it and you kind of question it, again, then don't worry about it because it probably won't work for you as well. So for me, it's not about whether archangels or numerology or astrology is actually a good system. I'm going, if you believe in it, I guarantee it will work for you. That's what it comes down to. For me, the same with a mentor or coach. You don't work with the best mentor, you work with the best one that you believe in. So it's for me, it's about what you believe in, not what system is best for you. So a lot of people will follow someone and they'll follow their system, but they go, it doesn't work for me. I go, because you don't believe in the system. You don't believe in the person. You're thinking it's going to solve your problems, but it's not. It's just a way of you tapping into to you solving your own problems. So for me, it's going, once you believe in a system, and these systems I believe in wholeheartedly, so I believe them, I follow them, and they then respond back to me. It's what we say is what you put out is what you get back, right? So if I'm putting out this intention that this system is guiding me in some way, then that's what I get back in return.
All right, so you've done your meditation, you've visualized yourself huge and drawing in this light and going through your heart and connecting to the rest of the universe. You're talking to these guides and you're actually asking them, I love this, how can I better hear from you? How can I work with your energy for the day? And then what do you do next before you end your sort of morning period?
And then I just kind of go into like a quiet time. And then once I find that my thoughts have wandered off into different directions, I realize my time's done. I've connected, because it's reminding people, meditation is a state of mind, not a state of being. So I'm meditating when I go to the gym. I'm meditating when I'm walking. So I can check in at any point with my guides, with the archangels, whoever. So for me, it's going, I don't have to be in a certain state to do this. I can do it at different points. I'm going to be on a train for an hour after we've spoken. I'll probably check in with my guides while I'm on the train because there's not a lot else to do. So it's just knowing that I'm checking in sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day, sometimes just once. It just really depends on where I am, what's happening in my life, what I'm focusing on, what my goals are. That depends on how often I'm checking in with the higher self or my guides.
Awesome. Well, this has been really insightful. I love that we have all these practical but also somewhat mystical aspects to living a life of purpose and setting and achieving goals. And one of the things that you've been so generous to offer to our audience is the ebook, the free ebook, Living a Life of Purpose, which you can get at deangriffiths.co.uk. We will put that link in the description. But the other thing is this beautiful goal-setting course that you've created. And in your goal-setting course, not only are we doing some work on our own, but we get to tap into you for some insight and some coaching. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, most ebooks, e-courses pretty much just have a program that you follow. Mine starts off that way. So there are 4 books to the course. After the first book, you have to email me. That's when I find out what your numerology number is. I find out how your energy is going to work and how for you to use it. Then after each ebook, each time you come back to me, we check in. And even when you finish the course and you've gone through and you understand the process, then I want to keep checking with you until you achieve your goals. So for me, I'm in 110%. I say, look, I've got a personal goal with all my coaching clients, which is why I only work with 10 clients a year, is that I want to give back 10 times the value. So why I use the 10x before is that whatever you pay me in my time, I will give you 10 times that back in value. I've got a client who I'm not working with right now. I'm still checking in with her because I know it's important that she's just wavered off her path a little bit. So my guys keep me checked in with you all the time. So whenever I feel that you're not doing anything right, or you may be going off your path slightly, you'll get an email off me. So many of my clients I've worked with over the years, they get an email and go, oh my God, perfect timing. Because I just got a way, it's just how I work. So it's very much, it's a e-course, but it's very much a personal e-course. So it's very much, you've got me during that whole process and even beyond that as you go through it. So there's 50% off right now on the website. That's about another 5 days or so. So for people who are doing it right now, they're loving it because they're realizing it's not just about goal setting. Actually, I'm learning more about myself.
Yeah.
That's what it comes back to.
And that's what's so incredibly valuable, because then you've got those tools and those resources for the rest of your life. Well, I love it. It's the 10X Goal Setting Method by Dean Griffiths, also known as the Soul Whisperer. Well, thank you for that generous 50% off on this course. I love the work that you're doing, and like you, I know that since we've worked together and known each other for a few years, I keep you in my consciousness. So every now and then, as you've seen, I send you an email like, "What you up to? Want to come on and share some wisdom? You've gone quiet.
Right.
It's time to get you back out there." My gentle,
I love it.
gentle
That's how it
nudging.
works.
Yeah, that is how it works. It's a gentle, loving mentoring and coaching process we believe in, but it really is about seeing the highest and the best in you and then being committed to help you reach it. So I love that you're opening up a little bit of space in this type of a coaching process. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Dean Griffiths. You can reach him at deangriffiths.co.uk. And Dean, anything else you'd like to leave with our audience?
Actually, I just want to remind you of my statement, which you mentioned at the start. Your problem is not your problem. It's your attitude about your problem. That's what you have to remember.
And that's what we can change.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much again. As always, it is a pleasure to connect with you.
Thank you.
You're listening to Liberate Your Authentic Self with me, Dr. Andrea Pennington. Check me out on Instagram at Dr. Andrea Pennington. And now, back to the show. You and I are on a path to build a life of no regrets. And all excellent spiritual guides and mentors remind us to bring the beginner's mind to our approach to life. And I highly recommend that you do the same. Now consider that following your heart, living in alignment with your soul, while a totally natural and innate skill for humans, it actually requires practice. It requires unlearning the conformity and rule following that we were taught as children. So be easy on yourself. Open your mind to getting support in the form of a mentor or a coach who can nurture and guide you as you explore bringing more of your potential to the world. So finding a mentor or a coach, someone who's even just a few steps ahead of you, it's important that they see the same vision for you. Sometimes we need someone who can call us on our BS, and the right mentor will do that well. Now, my Olympic athlete friends have a totally different makeup. They are people who can fall 99 times and get up 100, even with the embarrassment of a crowd watching. Now, there's a coach that told me a story about Tiger Woods, who at the time was working at changing his golf swing. Changing your golf swing as a pro golfer is a big deal. It's kind of like starting from scratch, forming new muscle memory for his new swing position. And basically, in a nutshell, his performance was going to suck for a while, and he was just going to have to deal with that. Now, this is what so many people find off-putting or even terrifying about the idea of leaving the path that they're on, albeit the wrong path. To get onto your soul's true path, you're going to have to be a beginner again. And as it goes, when Tiger stepped back onto the golf green to use his new swing technique in competition for the first time, he did struggle. And he did suffer a lot of negativity from the press. But you know what? Here's what he said to the press in response. "I'm building something here." This phrase has stuck with me, and I bring it to mind often, especially when I feel self-critical or if I feel like I see other people looking at me like I'm a little crazy. For most of us, the negativity is mostly an evil little voice in our own heads. But for sports stars, when they stumble, it's really public, and the criticism comes in huge waves from outside of themselves, too. So when the pressure is on and you imagine or hear other people trying to criticize you, just remember that you are taking control as the architect of your life. And just repeat the mantra, "I'm building something here." When you decide you want to liberate your authentic self and live a life of purpose, you gotta change the way you think, act, and react. So self-compassion must become part of your standard operations. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna push boundaries. That's all part of living outside of the box. So forgive yourself. Making mistakes is not a sign of weakness nor incompetence. It's a natural part of life. So when you're feeling down or defeated, contact your internal compassion figure and imagine them giving you a gentle hug. Imagine them saying to you, "I'm so sorry that you're hurting, but it's okay. This too shall pass." And then say to yourself, "May I get through this with grace. May I be free from suffering. May I be peaceful and truly happy." Now take the warmth of that hug and those words and keep it moving. Next up, you've got to redefine success. So how do you define success today? Society tells us that success is about money and stuff. But what is it for you? Defining success for yourself can open you up to discovering what really matters to you and what would bring you the greatest feeling of fulfillment and appreciation for life. Now, the best part is that when your success is defined internally and is found through naturally expressing your authentic self, you'll never have to worry about external praise or recognition. Next up, you've got to choose your environment and your community wisely. We've all heard the Jim Rohn quote, "You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Well, your tribe or community is important because the people you hang with do influence you. As a physician, I know that the research shows that people change their eating habits and even their body image to match that of their social group. There's so much data that shows that slim people can become obese over time if their friends are. And it's the same with mindset. Hanging out with negative people keeps you stuck in negativity. As brutal as it may sound, sometimes you need to move on from some friends for your own sake. So surround yourself with positive people, and you're already on your way to improving your mindset, your outlook on life, and trusting the inner wisdom in your own life. This tribe right here, we throw shine. Now, I naturally connect with people at conferences and workshops. It's usually the people who naturally think positively, who have huge hearts, and who are committed to bringing more light and love to the world, so I no longer feel alone. Well, that's exactly what we're doing here at America Out Loud. We're bringing positivity and light, a bunch of different views from the left and the right, and everywhere in between. Being in community, even a virtual community, allows us to express our true feelings and receive feedback from real people, instead of the imaginary critics in our heads. Hanging with people who are big thinkers, soul-conscious, change makers, and heart-centered light workers has brought me such peace, inspiration, and even companionship. Around here, we encourage each other to dream big and to go after our goals with gusto. Instead of worrying about the social media trolls who throw shade, we are a tribe of joy keepers who throw shine. In the words of Helena Goldstein, connect with your soul and share your light. The rest of the world will follow. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Dr. Andrea. And did you know I'm on the radio daily? Visit AmericaOutloud.com to download the Talk Radio app.